welcome back to my newly revamped Worst Movie Theater Customer Series. Let's begin. The Tag Team. I worked at Alamo Drafthouse, and one of the most annoying things that we had to deal with were people showing up late for their movie. And Alamo has a strict latecomer policy. You cannot show up to your movie after 15 minutes past the showtime. Excuse me, pardon me, coming through, where's my seat? Do you see how annoying that is? And when you bought a ticket online from us, it gave you a policy list that you have to agree to before you can even make the purchase, including that no latecomers policy that tells you you will not be admitted 15 minutes after the showtime. But as is usual, people don't follow policy and they still show up late. A way we prevented this in-house was at our restaurant and bar, our servers were told to check people's tickets and make sure to keep track of when they need to be going to their movies and when to close out their tabs. One of the servers in the bar did not do that this night, and a couple came over to us very upset. At the same time, another family was also being led away from the theater because they showed up extremely late. I dealt with the family, and my coworker dealt with the couple. The family was understandably upset because they were used to 30 minutes of previews, not our 15 minutes of previews. The couple was understandably upset because it kind of was our fault. Our server did not tell them that they were supposed to have gone to their movie. I was dealing with the family, doing their refund for their online ticket with the dad's credit card, and as we all know, whenever you refund a credit card, it takes about 2 to 3 business days for that money to show up on your account. I told this to the dad, and he went, "No, I want my money tonight." I explained that it's not possible, but the money is on its way to his credit card, and if he wanted it to go faster, he's going to have to contact his bank or his credit card provider. He still insisted, "I want my money tonight, cash in hand." I got my manager came over, heard the same spiel, and said, "Sir, if you're asking us to give you more money than you are due, that's larceny and we can call the police." And the dad said, "Call the cops." And they left. We didn't see them again. My coworker was dealing with the couple, and they were egging on the family because they were hearing their complaints and like, "Yeah, this place is BS." My coworker finished their transaction, handed them the credit card and their receipt, and the girl takes her drink, pours it out on the counter, sets the glass down, and they storm out. We head over to start cleaning up the drink, and my coworker notices there's a phone in the puddle. It was none of ours. And the guy came back in doing a walk of shame and was like, "Did you find my girlfriend's phone?" She poured the drink on her own phone. A blackout. One morning I showed up for work, and right before we opened the doors, the power went out. Turns out a truck had hit one of the main lines and severed it for our entire grid sector. So every business in this area was out of power. We had backup generators, but they had a limited amount of energy that they could give, and we had refrigerated goods. So when we figured that out, we had to unplug everything so that the power would be mainly focused on keeping our food in the fridge and the freezer fresh. My job for that little portion of the day was to stand outside and say, "Hey, sorry folks, we're out of power, we can't run movies, we can't sell tickets, we can't do refunds. If you have your tickets for a show that was supposed to start soon, I'll give you a free pass in place of that. Feel free to come back at any time." Most people were surprisingly very understanding, and some of them even said, "Oh, I went to the Starbucks and they were out of power too, so I kind of figured the same here. Thanks for the free passes, hope you get back up and running soon, have a great day." It was nice. But then there was one old lady. She waddled up to me and was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I said, "Well, we're out of power, so we can't show movies, we can't sell tickets, and we can't give refunds. Terribly sorry about that. Do you happen to have a ticket already purchased for today?" "No, I just want to buy a movie ticket." "I'm sorry, we actually can't sell the tickets up here. What you can do is if you go home, you can probably buy the tickets online for later today, and just fingers crossed that the power will come back by then." To which she responded, "I don't use the internet. I don't trust the government with my money. I'm not buying tickets online. I want my ticket right here, right now." And I explained to her, "Well, while the power's down, we cannot sell tickets. So you may want to just come back later, and we'll sell you the tickets then whenever the power's back."
"How long is that gonna be?"
"I'll be honest, I don't know. They haven't told us anything. It could be on within the next 15 minutes. It could be on in 12 hours. It could be on in 24 hours.
"Well, that's just ridiculous that you won't sell me a ticket."
"Ma'am, there's literally no power.
This is the last straw. Every time that I've come here, you guys have always screwed something up. Whether it's the food, or no talking, no texting. I don't want to come here anymore.
Some of you may be wondering, why didn't I just give her one of the free passes? She didn't have a ticket. And if I give her a free pass, that's just throwing money away. Also, some of you are wondering, was it our fault? And the answer is, no, you freaking idiot. So she waddled off angry at us for being out of power. Yeah, Jersey Shore. There's a lot of information about Jersey Shore, so try to keep up. A lot of it comes from my personal experiences, my cousin who worked directly with him and learned a lot about his personal life and goals and ambitions, and from a friend of mine who was actually assaulted by this guy and made a viral post calling him out. Jersey Shore was a menace to the entire city, not just our movie theater. He got banned from a McDonald's, he's that bad. If you were a female employee and had to engage with him, he would flirt with you right away. If you declined his advances, he would get aggressive and start calling you names, and there were a few instances of him actually following those girls home after their shifts. If you were a guy, he would immediately come up to you with hostility. He even accused my cousin of stealing from the register, and when a manager came over and checked the register and saw that there was nothing there, Jersey Shore asked for an application immediately. Manager got him the application, he filled it out, got him an interview that day, and hired him pretty much on the spot, all within 2 hours of accusing my cousin of theft. My cousin learned about his goals and ambitions, such as the fact that he wants to become a cop. But, as he admitted to my cousin, he was dishonorably discharged from the military for calling his commanding officer the N-word. Repeatedly. So because he was dishonorably discharged, he no longer had his military ID, which is what you need in order to acquire a military discount, especially at movie theaters. He would come up to us all the time, flash his dog tags, and we would say that's not a valid military ID, we need the actual card. And he would freak out, yell at us, and then a manager would come out, deal with him, tell him he's gonna call the cops. As soon as he heard the cops were gonna get involved, he'd run away. One time, a coworker of mine declined his dog tags, and he called her a bitch. And my manager came out and banned him for life. But that didn't stop him from trying to come back multiple times. Last time I personally saw him, he was at my register doing the same thing, and I said, "Look, you're banned." And he said, "No, your manager unbanned me." And I called my manager came up and was like, "No, you're still banned. Get out of here. I'm calling the cops." So my acquaintance was assaulted by this guy, because Jersey Shore just came up to him, called him the F-slur just out of nowhere, and splashed a soda on him, and then ran off. Cops were involved, and when they arrived, they said, well, if he's not here and he's not causing any immediate trouble, we can't really do anything. But we do know exactly who you're talking about. His post about this guy went viral, and a bunch of people chimed in with their own horror stories. But then Jersey Shore's parents found the viral post and begged my acquaintance to take it down, saying, "Oh, we've tried everything. We've tried prayer, we've tried sending him to therapy, we've tried it all, but none of it works. Just leave him alone, he'll be fine." No, he's assaulted people. He's a menace to society. There is no excuse for his behavior. Fuck that. Actually, you're gonna need some context for this story. I started working at this theater in 2012, and it was a second-run movie theater. What that means is we receive the movies a couple months after they are released from the first-run movie theaters. For example, if Avengers released in May of 2012, we would receive it in July or August of 2012 at a discounted rate. Our theater's ticket rate was $3.50 every single day of the week, except on Tuesdays. Tuesdays, tickets were $1.50. And Tuesdays were definitely our most popular day. In September of 2016, we transitioned from second-run theater to first-run, which meant our prices increased from $3.50 to $6 general admission, $4 discounted rate. And we also had to get rid of that $1.50 ticket Tuesday. A lot of people were very upset, rightfully so, but they kinda got over it pretty quick. On to the story time! It was a Tuesday night in January of 2017, about 5 months after we had transitioned into first run. Earlier in the evening, I had dealt with some people who were asking about the $1.50 Tuesday and where did it go, and I explained the whole situation to them, and they were very understanding and were still happy that they got a cheap ticket compared to the $12 tickets down the road. And then this one guy came in, and he ordered 2 tickets, and I told him his total was $12, and he went, actually, it's $3. $1.50 equals 3. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, we actually got rid of our $1.50 Tuesdays about 5 months ago. Actually, I was here last week, and you guys sold me tickets for $1.50 each, totaling to $3. So I'd like that, please. I then told him as politely as I could that he, as the customer, was not right. I asked him what time he came in last Tuesday to buy tickets, and he said around 6 o'clock, and I said, great, I was here last Tuesday working in the box office by myself since 4 o'clock. So if you wanted to buy $1.50 tickets from me last Tuesday, we would have had this exact same conversation, and you would have not gotten those $1.50 tickets. So clearly, one of us is lying. He demanded to speak with my manager. My manager came down, basically had the exact same conversation that I did with him, and then the guy left saying, I'm never coming back here again! And I don't think he did, because then that theater closed down a few months later because a church bought it. Thanks, Obama. You're going to want to pause here to understand our closing procedures as they are important to the story. This guy was a 3-night event. I was not present Friday night, but I heard through my coworkers who worked that night that this guy essentially walked out of our locked doors to smoke, ignoring the signs that said he wouldn't be readmitted, and then he threw a hissy fit whenever they wouldn't let him back in, and he blamed Obama, liberals, Hollywood elites, and eventually the manager just kind of gave up and was like, fine, just come back in. This is your one time that you're allowed to do this. Don't ever do it again. Saturday night, I was working in the concession stand. We put up our sign that said, we close at this time, make sure you get your refills before then. And we also reminded everyone verbally if they bought a refillable item. So we closed the concession stand, cleaned out the popcorn popper, warmers, everything. We were waiting for our cash drawers to get counted before we could be sent home. And this guy comes out of his theater with his popcorn tub and wants a refill. And we had to explain to him, sorry sir, we closed, we can't really do a refill right now. Well then, you're just gonna have to go and make me a fresh batch of popcorn, aren't ya? No, we're closed. Sorry. Our manager, who was the same one who worked the previous night and already dealt with this guy, came down and talked to him and told him, no, we can't do that, they have to go home. And from what my manager described, this guy apparently muttered something about entitled millennials ruining this nation and something about Obama again. And he wandered back to his theater a defeated man. Which leads us to Sunday night. I was working a closing shift in the concession stand again, and this guy came back. But he got his popcorn and popcorn refill and stepped out to smoke all before the closing time.
Oh, bless his heart, he learned!
Closing time rolls around, we start closing everything down, and this guy comes out of his theater and leans on our counter, red-faced angry. My family and I have been sitting in that theater for 30 minutes watching a bunch of commercials. Why do you put the commercials as the start time and not the movie? This was a good education opportunity for him and for you guys. Essentially, the studios send us what commercials they want us to put in front of the movie. And depending on the amount that they require us to play, it can get longer or shorter. So it's entirely up to the studios, not us. I explained this to him, and he was very confused by the words I said, because I was speaking English and not American. The next utterance that he made will stick with me forever. Yeah, well, Obamacare's 28 pages long. I'm not reading that shit. Honestly, I'd be surprised if he could read at all. Karens who call the cops. Let me just make one thing super clear. Whenever you get a refund using your credit card or debit card from a business, it takes 2 to 5 business days for that refund to process and show up on your account. It is no longer the business's responsibility to speed that up. If you want it to be sped up, you're going to have to contact your credit card provider or your bank, not the business and not the employees who gave you the refund. Is that good? Cool, great, let's move on. So this old crone did not understand that process at all. She wanted a refund because her party wasn't able to make it last minute, so she decided to get a refund on her card. So I swipe her card, I let her know it's going to be 2 to 5 business days for that to process. And she looked very confused by this. And I tried to explain it as best as I could, and she just still seemed confused and walked out of the building. And it was peaceful for like 20 minutes. And then a cop showed up and asked me if they could speak with my manager. While we were waiting, this same old woman comes back into the building and stands in the corner with her arms folded and is like looking at me like, yeah, Get him, officer. Not saying anything, but that's the attitude and the vibe I was getting from her. Manager meets up with the cop, and they go into the manager's office for a little bit of time. They come back out, and they want to count my drawer. So they have me close out, I give them the slip, and I stand outside of the office while they're counting it. They come out, and they're like, everything's all good. Was there any weird transactions that took place? And I said, well, I mean, the most recent, outstanding transaction that I had was that woman standing in the lobby. She wanted a refund, and she just seemed confused by the 2 to 5 business day thing, but then she left. And the officer was like, okay, I think that's about all I need from here. And he started to walk out, and I went back to the box office again with my manager, and as we were approaching it, we saw the officer go over to that woman, and he kind of stood over her. We didn't hear what he said, but I can only assume he said, ma'am, this is not an emergency. They were doing their job. Don't ever call us again. And he walked out, and she kind of waddled after him and was like, wait, hang on. They got outside, and I never saw them again. My main assumption is that she called the cops because she believed I was somehow stealing her money. The fact that we had to waste taxpayer dollars for this officer to come out and learn that this woman didn't understand a simple basic credit card refund process just baffles me. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I hate old people. This one's just a straight up traumatic event. Trauma. At my theater, we would have to do a thing called theater checks if we were working on the floor crew. Essentially what it was checking the temperature of each auditorium, checking the audio quality, as well as making sure no one is misbehaving, kicking people's seats, talking, or texting. Sometimes we'd go in pairs just for anxiety's sake, because it's hard telling people, hey, shut up, hey, stop texting, but you gotta do it. Coworker and myself walked into a theater, and we saw this bright light just in the middle of this giant crowd of people, and there was this old guy just texting. I came over, I asked him to put his phone away, I went and did the rest of my check, and as we were leaving the theater, this guy followed us into the hallway and was very upset and yelled at us, saying that we had no right to do that, he's missing out on his movie now, and that we should have just minded our business. The thing is, we do have a right to do that, because we post the policy all over the walls with a bunch of signs, and the pre-show even tells you, do not use your phone during the movie, or else you will be removed. So, telling us to mind our business doesn't work because it is our business. At least as long as we're on the clock, it is our business. We pointed at the signs and explained to him that these are just the rules and we're just following the rules and just stay off his phone. And he said, I don't like your tone. I want to talk to your manager. So our manager was making his way down the stairs, and as we were standing there waiting for him next to this guy, he said, very loudly, if I had my gun, this would be a totally different story for you boys. I was 17 when a grown man told me that if he had a gun, he would have killed me just because I asked him to not be on his phone in a movie theater. I immediately radioed my manager and told him exactly what this guy said. And my manager, sure enough, bolted through the lobby, came over to this guy, and they started walking and talking towards the box office. You know what I learned my manager did to resolve this conflict? He didn't remove the guy. He gave him free tickets to come back because of the inconvenience. Cool life hack, threaten people and get free stuff.